this is my first pass at something like this, but it's not my first pass at a dedication to Jim Jeffords. A few years back, I was lucky enough to oversee the construction of Jeffords Hall at University of Vermont. It's a research laboratory and a student center. Some of the family members that are with us today helped join in that celebration over half a decade ago. Jim did great work for the state of Vermont. This facility here was built approximately a half decade ago as well, and some of the folks that are joining us today back then had a vision. That vision was to honor the work that he'd done by naming this facility. We're here today to honor that dedication that he had and dedicate this building in his name for all of Vermont for the future. Some of the thank yous that our director just passed along, I'd like to address as well. The staff here has done a remarkable job. This building represents not only the late senator very well, but the rest of Vermont. So thank you for your efforts and keep up the good work. We do have a few other people that would like to speak in honor of today. We have Representative Pembroke that's joining us, Representative Morrissey and Senator Sears. I think the agenda reads that Representative Morrissey, you're next, so I think I'll pass this torch on to you, and thank you for joining us, the family of the Jeffords.
Good afternoon. Just about a year ago, former Representatives Dick Pembroke and Joe Krosick went before the Bennington Select Board to request that the Bennington Welcome Center be named in honor of the late Senator Jim Jeffords. While working closely over the years with his good friend Dick Pembroke, Senator Jeffords never lost sight of his strong commitment to the state of Vermont, but especially to the Bennington region in regards to the federal earmarks for major projects. And that has truly earned him the privilege of this dedication. The Select Board enthusiastically agreed. The following day, I put in a draft request into our Legislative Council, as is the process to formally name a state building after a person. I also asked Senator Dick Sears and Senator Campion to put a companion bill on the Senate side to show our strong support in both chambers. So we are here today dedicating the Bennington Welcome Center in honor of Senator James Jeffords. I am especially pleased that Senator Jeffords' children, Leonard and Laura, are here with us today, as well as Dick Pembroke, to witness this deserved tribute. In closing, I will say the well-known phrase, only two words, that was often used when referring to Senator Jeffords, and Dick Pembroke is actually wearing a hat that says it today. And thanks, Jim.
Representative Pembroke, would you like to share your thoughts?
Well, I couldn't be prouder to be here today to honor my buddy Jim Jeffords. Jim and I first got acquainted when I was chair of the UVM Extension Board, the state board, and we used to make our annual trips to Washington, to D.C. to lobby for some funds for the Extension Service. As time went on and I got elected to the legislature, the first thing I was instructed to do by the Speaker was to do something about getting 279 going. Well, in checking a few items, I find out that it's kind of tough. Oh, actually, we had 5 alternatives for the 279 entrance from New York. And the one with the most safety credentials was 1.5 miles in the state of New York. Well, that kind of threw us a curve as to, New York isn't going to want to pay to build a road to dump people into Vermont, nor can we ask the people of Vermont to build it. So there was a fellow by the name of Gordon MacArthur that worked for the Agency of Transportation in charge of construction. I asked him if he would mind going over to Senator Jeffords' office and helping me explain to him why we need about $50 million of federal money. That happened, but Jim says, well, how am I going to do this? And I said, well, this was back in the days of the earmarks. I said, you're on the Public Works Committee and the Environmental Committee in Washington. If you would apply for earmark of $50 million so we can build that leg in New York. Well, he said, let me see what I can do. So along with Brian Keefe, we got our $50 million. Well, then he really got excited about the whole project. And then when it came down to this portion of it, he said, let me see what I can do to leave some of the expense for Vermonters and Benningtonians so we can have a welcome center in Bennington. Now, one of the fellows that I'd like to give credit to is a guy by the name of Mark Richter, who worked for the Federal Highway in Montpelier. And I worked with him because everybody wanted this center in this spot. But because of the tightness of the highways and everything, it was a challenge for Federal Highway to come up with a plan. And I got to say, Mark Richter did that for us. I want to thank Mary for spearheading this celebration today. I've already mentioned Gordon MacArthur. Barry Richardson. No, it isn't Barry. Jim Richardson. I worked with him through my committee as chair of the House Transportation Committee, and Ray Rossi, to keep this project going and keep it funded. And of course, my buddy Mike Obahowski was always there to help me. And Chris Cole, the present Transportation Secretary, was in charge of the money at that time in my committee. He worked for Joint Fiscal. So I had a lot of things going for me and a lot of people that need to be thanked besides other legislators. And I just want to be able to say again to Jim, thanks, Jim.
Senator?
Thank you all very much, and I can't say enough of how good it is to have Dick Pembroke here today. Dick, I watched he and Dick Mazza fight over this project. Here I am, a new member of the Senate, and that ages me when I was a new member of the Senate, watching you fight Dick Mazza. But, truth be known, the day that the Senate Transportation Committee came to Bennington to look at the project when they were all opposing it, Dick, and you remember it well. I think Dick Pembroke set it up. It was a huge truck that got stuck in the middle of Four Corners, and they couldn't move. The entire Transportation Committee stuck in the Four Corners. But you know, those battles were nothing compared to what happened to have a project go through New York State, and that's where Senator Jeffords came in. And I echo the comments of thanks, Jim. You know, I've been watching the television ads this political season, not from Vermont because we don't get them down here, but from Albany, where senators and congressmen and women are taking credit for unbelievable stuff. I don't ever remember Jim Jeffords coming out and saying, hey, I got this done, I got that done. Very humble man who really got things done. And so to echo Mary Morrissey. Thanks, Jim.
I'm not a great public speaker, nor was my father, if you think about it. Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. This is a really big day for the state of Vermont and for our family. We are very proud to be a part of the event, and I want to thank everyone who has been a part of the process, not just for recent construction operation, but obviously everybody here that had to pull it together to pull this off. It's a tough project, and it's in an odd space and a very circuitous way to get here, which is kind of cool. And I'd like to also thank Representative Pembroke, the House Transportation Committee, the members of the Bennington Select Board. Without all of your plans and contributions, this would not have added up to much, and we would still have to hold it between Big Moose and the Mount Tabor Country Store. And that feels like you're headed towards south of the border and you're 75 miles out. It's very painful when you're a kid, trust me. If I could, I just want to say a few things to remind you about Jim and why we're here. He spent his entire career working with and for the state of Vermont. This beautiful state was his priority, and helping everybody here was what gave him the most satisfaction. I can guarantee it. He was always looking to celebrate and looking to be with you even if it was in a crisis. He was always there. This is a transportation project, so I'd like to just introduce an interesting fact. Jim's commute. It's not something most people think about. But for 32 years, Jim traveled to Washington, D.C. approximately 48 times a year. That's about 1,000 miles each way, which brings his total over 32 years to about 1.5 million miles, which equals about 130 miles a day, every day, for 32 years. That does not include the time he traveled within the state. That's just what he did to go to work. So I thought that was kind of an interesting number.
Thank you.
His job carried him from one end of the state to the other. He probably did it about 1,000 times, if not more, starting as a lawyer in Shrewsbury in the early 1960s to his time as state senator, attorney general, congressman, and finally U.S. senator. He covered a lot of miles. So I can only imagine how much he really would have appreciated stopping here. Lastly, I'd like to let you know that even when Pop retired and he relocated back to Washington to be closer to my brother and myself, I can tell you he was never still. He constantly made up ideas and strategized to help people back home. His campaigns never stopped. He was hardwired for his job. And every person he met, he greeted with his hallmark Jim Jeffords introduction. Hi there, my name is Jim Jeffords, and I'm from Vermont. And he told everybody that the exact same way. But now that he's gone, this Welcome Center will hopefully do the same thing for him. Thank you so much for having my family and I to this event. We are grateful and humbled for this opportunity to see our father's hard work and contributions to this great state honored in this very commemorative way. Many people will pass through this building and they are not gonna know boo about Jim Pop, but they're gonna be treated like he was here the whole time. The Jim Jeffords Welcome Center represents the very fundamental nature of my father. Always there, always welcoming, and always ready to help. Thank you, Vermont, for recognizing this in him. He was truly a great statesman, a great friend, and a great father.
Hi everyone, I'm Leonard Jeffords and my sister Laura. You know, one of the things about all the miles she traveled, what she didn't tell you is we got a family trip to Tahiti in Australia out of it. So it did, he suffered, but we got a good vacation out of it. You know, what this reminds me of, seeing this, you know, this building and the setting here, is driving up to Vermont for years and years and years. We had a dog named Calvin. He was a Welsh Terrier, and we got him in Shrewsbury. And with the proximity to Plymouth, we named him Calvin after Calvin Coolidge. And at first we thought it was just kind of funny, but when we would get right to the border of Vermont, and that little dog would stick his nose up and start sniffing the air. We thought the first couple times we were like, okay, this is just strange. But by the 8th or 9th time, you're like, he just knows we're here. You know, he does. And this is, you know, not to compare my father to a dog, but the dog had a lot of characteristics of my father. My father was a true Vermonter. He grew up in Vermont, grew up in Rutland. You know, he went to college in 1952, served in the Navy, went to law school, came back to start his family in Shrewsbury, Vermont. He loved Vermont. He loved the state, he loved the people, he loved helping the people. And to me, it's great to see people coming to Vermont. This is, Laura said, this is true to our father. He was welcoming, he loved the state, he loved to show it off, and he loved to help people here. And we really, truly appreciate the effort you've all put in and for doing this for us. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Representative Pembroke to help us unveil a placard that tells the story of Senator Jeffords' life and his contributions. There's also a video that he'll be unveiling at the same time. So Senator Pembroke, if you would be so kind as to help us unveil. It'll be over here in the corner here, folks, so we'll let you.